Book 2, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and this is the reason why I don't create TBRs. Because I give myself way too many options and am overly ambitious. And I know that I'm not going to read all these books. I just see them, look at my shelves, and be like, I want to read this book, and I want to read this one. Or I gotta read this one, I was just thinking, about, first of all, I was thinking about doing a theme this summer of reading quintessential American literature, including nonfiction, because I have a lot of nonfiction works that's related to American history, like on biographies of presidents. There's one that's on Jefferson that's not in a biography, but it's kind of like why we idealize and idolize Jefferson as a president. And is he really worth idolizing? That it, like, the author is discussing that. So it's not technically a biography, but it is still about a president. So it's like, I want to do that, but then I also remembered that we're still thinking we might still go to London this autumn. So I wanted to do a going through, reading books that were about, England. My last, I don't know if it was for my birthday, for Christmas. Actually, I think it was for Christmas. I got, a book on Jane Austen's England. And it's kind of like a guidebook. It's a guidebook. And I wanted to read that. And then I also have one of those big, guidebooks that are have pictures and little blurbs. One of those, and you would have seen it, I'm sure, when I did what I got for Christmas video. So it's like, so I gotta read those. I was thinking of doing a theme of reading books that are related to England, and so that's why I can't do themes, because I can never stick to them. I get sidetracked or remember previous ideas I had, and I'm thinking, I won't have time to do that theme. And there have been times where I've tried to do more than one theme within a time frame, and it didn't necessarily go all that well. One took priority over the others, or I just felt overwhelmed. So, but I'm so indecisive. So I'm just going to show you all these books that I'm thinking about reading, and some of them are books that I've already started and I need to pick up and continue with. And I don't want to take too long filming this, because I am, watching Murphy right now, and I don't want to leave him alone too long downstairs, because I am, and, I just, my dad is going fishing, and he was, I was kind of annoyed by that, because that means, once again, I have to be downstairs along with Murphy, which I don't necessarily mind, but there's stuff that I want to do, and I can't have him come in my room, because then he'll go rummaging around my stuff, and he might have an accident. But we do have give him a Kong, which is a little circular thing, and that you can put a dog treat in there, and he will spend hours trying to get the dog treat. Well, maybe not hours, but at least an hour, and then you can put peanut butter in it, because dogs love peanut butter. But he'll probably finish that real quickly. And now I'm still worried that he might bust in my room in the middle of my activity, my filming, and I also want to vacuum. And then I also need to try on something, because we have a activity coming up in a couple days. So, where I need to dress up for it. So I want to try on the dress, see if it works. But anyway, okay, I don't know why I did that. I must have hit something. So I'm just going to show you, so first of all, I am in the middle of 2 books. I did just start reading Children of Dune, because I'm meaning to get to it, and I've had it for a while. And I still don't know if I'm going to keep my mass market paperback of the next Dune book, or if I'm going to change it for this size, because I bought that on Amazon saying, oh, it's $7.99. It's really cheap. it's cheaper than thrift books. And I should have known better because it's Amazon, so there's no way they would have a book this size for only $7.99 on Amazon. So that was a dumb move on my part. So I still don't know if I'm gonna buy another copy and just send that one to Gibbons or something. But anyway, either way, I wanted to get to this soon. And what I really like about this is the chapters. A lot of chapters are not that long. But anyway, again, I was reminded how unique the writing is. It's feels like I don't know if it's like a fairy tale or a folk tale or something with the writing. It's just different. It's definitely, like, not that it's like old, like in the way a lot of Victorian classics or books from before that, but just the writing feels very folktale-like, or very. It's different, and it's weird to get back into. But this is about Paul's children, and we also, and I forgot Paul has a sister. And I'm guessing, I don't remember for sure, but I'm guessing she is born later in the story, in the original Dune novel. But yeah, and in the book she's very worried because she is a little different and doesn't follow, because she was born after Paul, she does not fit the prophecy, I think. So the Bene Gesserit don't want her or something, and she's to prove herself. And they're trying to get the kids to use the spice, the Paul's children, because they could be just as gifted as their father, and they haven't used it yet. And I guess Lady Jessica was gone for a while, left Arrakis, and now she's come back to visit her grandchildren, and Ali is very worried about that, and like wondering, okay, what's up? Why is Mom all of a sudden here? She's very suspicious of her mother. And that's just the first few chapters. So So yeah, I am actually reading this. I am also reading, if I can get to it, because the way I piled my books now, I don't know if I can get to it. Let's see. No, I don't want to be in that pile. It would be in the classics pile. I cannot get to it, but at the moment I am currently reading The Winter's Tale, which, going by the title, you would think I would read it in the winter time. But I said that I would, and then I forgot, so now I'm reading it now. So I won't forget, and I can't get to it because it's kind of in the pile somewhere. So I'm also reading that currently. So I did want to go ahead and continue and make this my next book that has to do with the Philippines. A history of the Philippines from Indios to Bravos to the Filipinos. Louis H. Francia. Because like I said, this is one of the things where I felt like I should have read this first before I read Noli Me Tangere. But I didn't, because I was just excited to be like, I'm reading this classic Filipino classic work of literature. I was like, oh, let me read that. Although from one of my subscribers had said, it's that I should try it. There's other translations I should try, that they thought was the best translation. But that was just the one that was available, the first one I saw, when I bought it online. So I put it on my wish list. But anyway, so I want to read this before I get to Dusk, which is a family saga story. But there's also Dancing with Elephants or something. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Something to do with elephants, if elephants dance or something. Part of me feels like I should read that one before I read Dusk, but I kind of want to read Dusk. I want to start that one. And some of these books might just be like books I'm gonna read, in May for my birthday. Dusk Mean, this one. It's a family saga story, and it takes place during the well, it's set in the 1880s. And this family is exiled from their village, and they try to make a new life in this town, Salas. I don't know how many books are in this, but this is the first one, and there is, what is it called? There's another, can't remember what it's called. But I don't know how many books there are in this saga, but I'm excited to read it. But I do want to read this, but first I feel like I should read this first before I get to this one, so that I have a better idea of history. That way, I can appreciate this one more, because I actually know what is going on historically. Because I know some history, but not a lot. Very little history. So there's those two. And also, I did start reading The Child from the Sea. I got a little farther with this book. This is my first Elizabeth Goudge, and it was the only one I found at the at Black Castle. I got this like last year, I believe, and as soon as I spotted it, I was like, I am meaning to read Elizabeth Goudge, so I'm gonna grab it, even though it is a hardback. So that's the only thing. It's a hardback, so it's a bit of a big book. But that's okay. Like I said, I've been wanting to read Elizabeth Goudge, and because I hear a lot about her from Emma from Bookish Princess, and how much she loves her, and I think actually Kate Howe read Elizabeth Goudge for the first time this year. So that was but yeah, I keep meaning to get to this. And it looks like it might be one of her longest books, going by the images I've seen of her other books. So I did start this one. I also did start my continue over with my reread of The Count of Monte Cristo, because Emmy and Caroline got me excited to read it, because I watched their discussion video after they read the book for their book club, and I got excited. It was like, reminded, I am meaning to reread this, because this has become one of my favorite classics. So I don't know if I'll get to this, but I do want to, I don't know when I'll get to this again, but I do want to reread it. But I also need to continue my reading of War and Peace. Because yes, I'm going to read it. I want to read it. I'm excited to read it. And what I read so far, it's not that hard. I mean, it's just, you stumble a little bit on the names, the Russian names. If you don't know the Russian language, you're probably going to have trouble with the names. And it's a long book. A lot is going on. And there are going to be some parts that are probably going to be boring. But I've liked it so far, I did start over because it has been a while. So I do want to keep going. I just figured starting over might be a good idea because it's been so long since I read it. Okay, now we have 3 nonfiction books. Oh, wait. Here it is. I didn't realize it was that. Here is The Winter's Tale that I said I want to read. I just read through all of the beginning notes, like the introduction notes in this one. I don't know anything about this play. But it sounds like it's kind of about telling stories. But yeah, and I read last time with Merchant of Venice, I didn't read all the notes because my copy of Merchant of Venice that I ended up deciding to donate because it's not my favorite, is this version. So, this edition. So, it has a lot of the same notes in it. Like, information on, Shakespeare's language, Shakespeare's life, the theater, the Globe Theater, and the publication of the plays and everything. And I think it sounds like this one that the guy who created these particular editions used this his source for it was the folios. So those were the first originally copied versions of Shakespeare's plays, it sounded like. So that was, I say that the quartos were, and then the folios. So those were the early copies of Shakespeare's plays. So then, and this was based on the folios, I think. But anyway, so I'm reading that right now. So back to the nonfiction. So the other nonfiction. So this was one of the ones I was thinking about saving for the summer because I do need to get back to. This is one of the many books that I've started and I need to get back to. This John Adams biography by David McCullough. And basically I feel like I'm reading all the books of the main figures of the American Revolution. I mean, there's still way more to go, but I read Ron Chernow's biography of Hamilton. I should say I listened to it and I liked it. It was what inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda's famous musical about Hamilton. And I know that there are other, that one was a big one, so there are other books that still are very good and very informative, but aren't as long as that one, but still are very important. I've heard that there are other ones that people have recommended that I read instead of that one, but I've already listened to that one, so I just need to check out the other ones. But anyway, I have a biography on Ben Franklin. I have this one I want to keep going with. And then also I have that book on Jefferson called The American Sphinx about, why people idolize Jefferson as a president. And if he deserves that idolization. So, and I did start that last year. But with this one, I am farther along in this one, so I got a good chunk to read. So I would like to start reading this one as well. And some of these books I might, start and get to in May. I don't know, but I want to get back to this one. Or I might just save this for the summer. After I film this video, I might go through these books and see which ones I just want to save for the summer. But I feel like some of them I need to start in the spring. Like this one, maybe I should start in the spring because it is longer and just make some progress on it. Like some of these, these longer ones, I probably won't finish in the next 2 months. And like I said, after this, I should go through this collection and see which ones I genuinely feel like would be good that I should get to in this spring. So this is one of the non-fictions. Okay, and then this is one of the books about England that I wanted to read before now I can read it before we go, and that is the English Civil War. And I think this is right before, the American Revolution, or right up to the American Revolution. Let me see. Okay, so in this compelling history of the violent struggle between the monarchy and the parliament that tore apart 17th century England, Diane Purkiss sheds new light on the people who fought and died during these tumultuous years. Like the Magna Carta or the American Revolution, the English Civil War concerned fundamental questions of sovereignty and political rights that are still standing guiding principles of democracies today. But the political revolutions came at a price. The execution of a king, brutal persecution of Catholics and Royalists, and years of tyranny, drawing on exciting news sources including letters, memoirs, ballads, plays, illustrations, and even cookbooks. That's funny. Diane Purkis creates a rich and nuanced portrait of this turbulent era. So, not just the American Revolution, but the Magna Carta, too. So, this must have been a war that took a long time. So, this is one of the ones I feel like I should get to sooner rather than later because, I want to read some nonfiction about England's history before we finally go to London. So I might save, the American summer quintessential reads for. I could start this spring. Like I said, I'm gonna go through all these and see which ones I should actually consider making a priority. But that's gonna be hard still. But there's that as well. And then the last nonfiction I have here is Rubicon, the triumph tragedy of the Roman Republic. It was between this or Suetonius is Lives of the Caesars, and maybe I should get to that one. Maybe I should consider that one too, but I just grabbed this one. I took it off my shelf. Like, this is the one I grabbed. So, I think I'm gonna stick with this one. And apparently it was shortlisted for the Samuel Johnson Prize. So, I guess that's a prize for nonfiction, folks. But, I had already read SPQR by Mary Beard, and I feel like that's a good beginner work. Even though I've not read a lot about Rome, that gives me vibes of beginner, and maybe that's just because it's not as long, or it also felt like it was just giving kind of the basic compressed information, but not necessarily in a bad way, just not like I said, I feel it felt like a good place to start for someone who's a beginner like myself. I could be wrong, maybe people disagree. Like I said, I'm not an expert, and it was my first book on Rome that I've read. So but yeah, since I read that one, I decided to go ahead and read this one. Not that one used this one as a reference. Maybe it did, I don't remember. But I figured my next should be this. Although, Suetonius, even though it's a classic nonfiction, it might be a little easier to read because that people say it reads like gossip. Like a gossip column, so. But I'm not gonna change my mind. I'm gonna stick with this one. Then we have the shipping news, which won the Pulitzer Prize, which I actually was. So I have two. I forgot. I grabbed the other book by the same author, the longer one. But this is about this guy whose wife. I think his wife cheats on him, so he uproots his children. On the Newfoundland coast, and he's a newspaper guy, although he's third. It says he's a third-rate newspaper guy, and it's one of those stories where he just confronts his demons and deals with his issues. And they're living kind of in this small island town. So, yeah, I remember this one, I actually got this one mixed up with a Tom Hanks movie that came out, I think it was last year, where he, the title, I thought the title was referring to this book. So that's why I bought it. But I could have heard Kim. Yes, I finally remembered her name. Because every time I bring up her channel, I always forget her name. Her name's Kim. Kim from Middle of the Book March, which I have middle March here, because I want to reread it, and I figured it's more of a spring book than Bleak House is. But she talked. I think she might have talked about this book, and that's maybe why I was thinking about this book. And the other book, Bark Skins, is all by the same author. I don't know how to say her last name. is on here as well, but it's a little bit longer. This one won't take as long to read. So this one, I always find these kinds of stories interesting, but I don't read enough novels about these stories, about people going into small towns and changing their life, because oftentimes they sound like, romance novels and, cheesy stories, and maybe this is, maybe it isn't, that I would just rather watch as a movie, than a book. And this is a movie. This got adapted. So, but I'm gonna try it. And who knows, maybe, will be one of the, I could pass on to one of my mom or dad or my sister. Well, probably more my mom and dad, because my sister just got out of the habit of reading, and so she's, every time she wants to, just after taking care of her kids, she wants to just chill. So she doesn't read that much, even when she does have time. Although I guess you can count it as reading, because she reads to her kids. Both her and my brother-in-law read to the kids, so they're reading. They're just not reading, privately. They're reading to their kids, so in a way they're reading. Because, I know that, for instance, Kate Howe has kids, has a son, so she reads to them, and then I know, and she includes, and she counts it as, and then I believe, and then Mike from Mike's Book Reviews also reads to his sons, so he counts that. So you know what, my sister is reading, just not reading to herself, she's reading to her kids. But anyway, so there's that one. And then this is one that I just want to make progress on this one. I doubt I'll finish it. Like a lot of these, like Count of Monte Cristo or the Child from the Sea, I doubt I'll finish them, but I want to make some progress with this one. This is, let's see if I can remember, because it's been a few months since I last picked it up. So it's this TV journalist, living in, I always forget it, what is that place? It was recently on the news. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now in this place. I'm just gonna have to look the Ukraine. I cannot believe I can never remember, because it's in the news right now and stuff is going down in Ukraine right now, and I still can never remember the name. Is that the same place that this book takes place? So she just discovers a photograph of this woman, this famous army insurgent who was killed by Stalin's secret police. She finds a photograph of her, Elena Dovgan. And so she's finding everything she knows about this woman. Oh, Amazon Crossing. So did the person who first bought this book get it from Amazon? An Amazon publishing company, possibly. And we go back and forth between her perspective, and we also get her boyfriend's perspective, and I think he's related to the woman. It's been a while. I need to pick it up again and start reading this again, so I can remember these details. But yeah, that's why I don't remember things, because longer books I will put down for long periods of time, and then I don't remember them. But what I think I might do with this book is see if I could find a review of it on YouTube and see what other people say about it, and actually watch one instead of going through and reading reviews on Goodreads. I mean, I might still do that, but just to kind of get my mind working, remembering the plot of this book, and maybe see if some of my assumptions about her boyfriend and everything are accurate, if I'm remembering correctly or not. But anyway, so I just want to make progress on this one. I don't expect to finish it. Okay, and then we have so Larissa had brought up having just read this book, and I meant to read it after I told her I would read it after she read it, so that we can talk about it, because I'm always looking for books for her and me to talk about and discuss, for her and I to discuss. but we're never on the same page. Like, yeah, she will be more prone to read the books I'm into. Not always, but mostly. Like, Terry and I, it's different. Like, there are some books we would have in common, but mostly I read a wider variety of things. She has her preferences, while Larissa, I feel like, is more open to reading different things and trying things. I mean, she has figured out what she doesn't like, but she's more willing to try things, I think. I don't know if she's as experimental as I am, because I have tried, things that just might not work for me. But, so I'm always get excited when if there's something we can talk about. And I think she does too, because she always, asks me about books, and then I feel bad because even if I have read them, it might have been a long time and I don't remember. And this was a case of it being a long time ago when I first read it, so I couldn't really talk about the book and how I felt about it and how I felt about the main character Lear, because she has some stuff to say about Lear as the main character. So I have been wanting to pick it up and reread this, and I don't want to wait until October. I know I read Wicked in October, and that was the original plan, but I've come to realize that I can't do seasonal reading, because then I will forget if it's going to be a long time before that time comes, and then I decide to read something else. So I need to read this soon. And maybe I'll read it in the springtime. This spring, like either April, which is now, or in May. I said I need to go through after I film, I'm going to go through these and just like, well, actually, I guess I can't really go right after, because I have to get back downstairs, and I can't be up here too long. So this is Son of the Witch, which is about the son of Elphaba, and possibly Fiyero might be the father, and his life and how he was abandoned by his mother, and he's trying to understand why and figure out who he is and learn more about his mother, and just kind of a journey of self-discovery and coming of age for Lear. And it's funny because Larissa had said she felt like Lear was very whiny, and that's why she did not like him. So like I said, I didn't remember enough to be able to say if I agreed or disagreed with her. So I want to read this soon. And I also feel like I need to get to some of my fantasies now, because again, I'm feeling guilty. I mean, I know I don't have to, like, there's no rule, no one's forcing me. Like, if I'm not in the mood for it, I know it's okay. But I just want to get back into fantasy, and I haven't been motivated to. So, but every time I read fantasy, I still enjoy it. But there are all these, there will be other books. So, I'm gonna, but anyway, next we have Senlin Ascends, and I keep meaning to start this book. The other thing is, the reason why sometimes when I just have the first book in a series, and I don't have this, like, the next one, I'm hesitant to start it, because I'm, like, thinking, I don't want to start it right away when I don't know when I'm going to get book 2, if I end up absolutely loving it. And in most cases, I'll enjoy it, like, but there will be times when I wait too long to get the next book, and all of a sudden I lose interest. Even though I enjoyed the book, even if I liked the book and had a good time with it. And I do want to continue. There will be, like I said, if I wait too long, I might lose interest. I mean, some people could argue that if you absolutely love a book, like it's an all-time favorite, then you won't lose interest. And maybe that's true. But I don't know. But I'm trying to make sure I don't do that and get to the next books buy the next book as soon as I can. But still a struggle to remember to do that, because there will be times when I'm like, okay, I'm not going to buy anything right now. So, and I'm going to wait like a month, and then the next month comes, and then all of a sudden I want to buy other things. So, but yeah, the whole premise of the story sounded so cool. The idea of this tower, and how it has its own, each level has its own world, and then this guy has to go find his wife, and kind of has kind of a Wonderland feel to it. Like, I'm getting, I'm wondering if it's going to be like Wonderland, where the characters are just full of nonsense and they're all mad, and he just has to deal with them, and he's such, like, I imagine he's going to be a very practical, sensible thinker and logical, and, like, these people are going to be crazy. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm totally off base. But usually in these kinds of stories, that's how, that's a lot of times the direction it goes. But yeah, I am excited to read it. It's just I get distracted. So this is one of the ones I should probably consider focusing on. But speaking of, there's another one that I also got, the first book, that I feel like I should get to as well, and that is A Natural History of Dragons, memoir by Lady Trent. Marie, so, I've talked about this before, that the first time I attempted this, I got it from the library, and then I just wasn't feeling it at the time, so I returned it to the library. But now I want to try it again. Like, it's one of Jean's, from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, favorite books. And I'm like, the concept is great. Like, I like the concept of dragons have been real, and that she's studying, like, we study dinosaurs or we study other animals. Like, that concept, I think, is brilliant and really fun, so I want to get to this. And it's, also, it's a female scientist. As a female reader, that is just so cool. That makes me even more excited. So, I want to, and plus, the cover is awesome. Like, I love the cover. It's so good. So, I want to try this. And it's not as long of a book. So, but there's other versions of it, so I need to get book 2 soon, because this one's not gonna, maybe I should make fantasy, make May a fantasy month, because fantasy is my favorite genre. Okay, and then we have book 2 in the All Souls Trilogy. As you can see, again, another book that I've started and need to get back to. I started this back in last year. Yeah, it was it had to have been like October or September, because I was reading it when we got Murphy. Because I had it with me when my parents surprised me and picked him up. I remember. And I was reading it in the car, and then I didn't get back to it because I was holding him, and he puked on me. Showed me how much he loved me by puking on me. So I did not pick it up again. And I don't know if I read anything after. I don't know if I read any more of it after, or if this is the last chapter I stopped at. But actually, I think I read a little bit more, because I was stopping in the middle. I had stopped in the middle of a chapter, and I think, but I do need to get this, because it's been a few months. So this is like, I feel like I should prioritize the books that I'm in the middle of. The other thing I want to prioritize is, like, books that I've got from thrift books. I posted that video for you guys on all my thrift books, and I think I might have left out 1 or 2 that, like, there was one that I don't remember, but it didn't have the price, the little bar scanner, like some of my other ones, and I totally forgot. Oh, and that reminds me, another one, I also want to read Tale of Genji, because I just got the first American translation, which is kind of an abridged version also, so I wanted to read that, so that maybe I can get the next one. And I kind of want to read that one in April, so that maybe it could be a book that I can, the actual whole thing I can read I could get it for my birthday. So, so I need to get back to this one. Okay. And then, one of the bigger ones, one of the tomes is The Shadow Rising. I keep going back and forth between this one, Clash of Kings, which would be a reread, which it is in this pile, or reading the sequel to Ruin of Kings, and there's also the Words of Radiance. I keep going back and forth between those 4 books. And then, like, you know, I've already read Clash of Kings, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should wait before I read that. Oh, and also, like, Fire and Blood. And I feel like I need to get to that one, too, because the new season is starting, and I don't want to make the same mistake I did with Game of Thrones, where I started reading the books, and then got more focused on the show, and didn't read the books. But then, this is the next book in Wheel of Time, and I need to get to this one, too. But I need to get to the other one. So it's hard to decide between those fantasy books which ones I should prioritize. I mean, sometimes it sounds like common sense that I prioritize the ones that I haven't read and come back to Clash of Kings another time. But then I keep thinking, oh, it's been so long since I reread it, and I want to get to book 3. And book 3 is one of my thrift books purchases, as you saw if you watched the video. So, I don't know. Because these books will take a long time. All of those books are big books. So, and maybe I can read them at the same time. But, you know, I mean, I always believe I'm not someone who's going to get mixed up. But, you know, I wonder if I test that theory, if I would get mixed up with those. But then if I do all fantasy month, and for my birthday month, which maybe I should really do that. Just doing all fantasy month, because that's my favorite genre. But, yeah, so I do, that's another one. But, some of the fantasy books I'm going to read in April. Okay, and then we have Ship of Magic, another one that I've started, by Robin Hobb. So, as you guys know, this was a situation where I originally had the mass market, and then I decided, you know, when I finally saw these versions at Books A Million, I immediately bought them and have been wanting to read them. So I do believe I'll enjoy this. I mean, I keep debating about reading this for the summer, because I keep thinking seafaring books I feel like are summer reads, but I feel like I need to get to this. So I don't know. And like I said, for the summer, I was thinking about doing a theme of quintessential American books. So but yeah, this is a fantasy book about, like, you have these live ships, which are basically ships that have the spirits of the original, the ancestors of the owners of the ship running the ship. And one of our main characters, the daughter, the latest heir, she thinks she's going to inherit it, but instead it's passed down to her brother-in-law, who's an ass. And I think she ends up being forced to work with pirates, so she can sail the seas, while her mom wants her to act like a lady and not, act like a seafarer. And I feel like that always is the story. Like, it makes good conflict. But it is interesting that they always use that premise of the girl wanting to be an adventurer, but then the mom is like, no, you need to act like a young lady and wear pretty dresses and, like girl things and, find a husband, and, oh, there's no way you're going to find a husband that way. Which I already got a theory about who's going to be the love interest for this and who she's going to end up potentially marrying. But I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing because he's the other main character. So this one I want to get to too. Like I said, I really should do a fantasy month in May. Okay, and then we have Stephen King's The Stand. Again, another one that's going to take me a while. I don't expect to finish it. This is kind of the end of the world story, and these people, like, we're with the people the survivors, and it's, of course, Stephen King, once again, he does all this great character work, so you have all these interesting characters with flaws, and they are divided up into people that follow Mother Abigail, who she's a healer, I think, and she's the oldest woman living. Or you have Randall Flagg, who's kind of he's the antagonist. And he's the man in, I think he's the man in black in the Dark Tower series. And it's kind of this all-out, good versus evil type plot. So, and I started this because originally, again, another one where I had the mass market copy. So I started this and I eventually bought this copy and send the mass market to one of these bookstores. So I've been meaning to pick this one up as well. And get back to it. So, because I do like it. And I like Stephen King's writing style. It's so accessible and easy to read. And he makes these compelling, flawed characters. And some of of course, some of them are characters you just hate. And you just want to strangle. Or punch in the face. Or if, get rid of them completely. But he's so good at that. He's writing those characters that you either love or you hate. He's so good at that. So there's that one as well. And then we have, okay, here's Clash of Kings. I need to get to the sequel to A Game of Thrones, the first book in Song of Ice and Fire series. The show was named after the first book. And I've been trying to do a reread of the series because it's been so long since I read it, and I never really finished it. Of course, neither has the author. And that's one of the complaints. A lot of fans are pretty pissed off about that and are worried that he'll die before he finishes the last book. But so we might have a Robert Jordan situation on our hands and have someone else take over. And no, Brandon Sanderson is not. Yes, he's a brilliant fantasy author, but he doesn't fit this mood. I don't know if he could write this kind of stuff. He writes like PG. Like I feel like this isn't rated like R-rated, and he writes PG-13 rated books. I mean, like this is grimdark. So, I think I agree with everyone else that it shouldn't be Brandon Sanderson as great. Yes, he's a good writer. I'm not saying that. He's a brilliant writer. He writes amazing fantasy characters and makes complex magic systems. But first of all, the magic system in here is not complex. It's a soft magic system. And I'm not saying that Brandon Sanderson, obviously he can do that, because, I think Trust of the Emerald Sea is soft magic. But his tone and the way he writes his fantasy does not fit this series. So if George R. R. Martin passes away before he finishes, we need to find someone who writes, grim, dark stories, who, is not, write, mature content that is very, not kid-friendly. So maybe, Joe Abercrombie. I think his name has been thrown out there. He might be a good writer for this. I don't know if Steven Erikson is still alive, but from what I've heard about him, maybe him. But anyway, yeah, they need someone who writes grimdark and darker stories for if something happens to, George R. R. Martin before he finished the series. But yeah, so I want to reread this one, which I've already started, and I've got far enough that I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm not going to start from the beginning with this one when I do start rereading it. But okay, and then we have, okay, so this one is probably one I either need to read the spring, this summer, or pick it up again in the fall. Because I've already read the book 2, obviously, and just a couple months ago, I think it was back in February, I read book 2. So actually I might have read it in January and then took it into February. Yeah, I think that was the case. I think that was the book that I took and that I started at the end, in January, and didn't finish it until February. But yeah, so I need to get to this so that I could have a series finished under my belt again, because I did great last year with making progress in some of these series, and I want to do that again this year, which I'm not off to a great start, but I'm close if I just read this one soon. But this one is, as you can see, it's a little bit longer. Just a little bit. Okay, so then we have, okay, I already showed you Children of Dune. I just put it here, so I'm working through that. I do want to go ahead and read, I might save this one for the summer, Native Son, which I think this guy is, he might have murdered someone and assaulted a woman, and it's like the back description is he's caught in a downward spiral, and you know he's trying to get, you know, and I'm assuming he's gonna try to get his, you know, get help, or someone's gonna try to help, his family is gonna try to help him, I'm guessing. But I want to get to this one, and then I want to get to Invisible Man too. So maybe I'll read this one for the summer. Although I feel like I need to read this soon, so I can, maybe in June. Actually, if I don't read it in May or in April or May, I want to get to it in June, so that maybe I can give it back to my sister and brother-in-law by July, when my nephew's birthdays are. But I don't know. They might not get it back into the holiday until like Thanksgiving, Christmas time. Okay. We have some more fantasy. Aoy of Law. It's another Brandon Sanderson book. And it doesn't seem that long, and I've been meaning to get to it. It is the second era of Mistborn, the first book. It kind of has a Old West type setting, and but this is a world where the magic system involves metals, and you can swallow certain metals in liquid, you know, and it allows you to do these things like jump tall buildings in a single bound, pull things, you know, throw things, and like all this really cool stuff. So you had the first trilogy, which is everybody's favorite, and then this is the second trilogy where he's going with the Old West setting, and our main characters are Wax and Wayne, and one of them, I think Wax is part of a upper class family, but he's been kind of living in the outskirts, trying to be a lawman, I think, and or like he has to go back home or something, and he has to deal with and he gets involved in some kind of mystery, I think. Let's go see. I did start it. I read the prologue and the first chapter, I think. So let's see, where am I in the book? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I read the first chapter. So this is another one I need to consider getting to soon, because I've been, you know, I finally got the editions I want, so I don't have an excuse. Although now my copy of the last book is not in the same edition, and it's not the same size either. It's still a large paperback, but it's not, you know, it's different. It's the American version edition. So, but you know, that's okay. Okay, and then we have The Grace of Kings. And I already got book 2, and I've been hearing a lot about how great the series is. This is the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty, and I've been meaning to start it because I bought the first one. And it's like these two friends. And there's a rebellion, and so I've been meaning to start it. I just haven't yet. So I feel like I need to start this now, you know. Sorry, I don't have a lot to say, and I don't want to, like I said, I'm trying to get this done soon so I can go back down and take care of my, you know, spend time with Murphy. And then also for it not to be too late to eat my lunch, because if I eat it too late, then, you know, I don't know when I'm going to eat dinner, when I'm going to be hungry for dinner. So I'm not going to read the back or anything, but I just heard it was really good. And I bought the second book, so I've been, so I can jump to the second book right away. So I'm going to pick this. So I want to start this one soon as well. And then the next one is a standalone fantasy. One of the rare times we got a standalone fantasy. And that is The Queens of Lear by Tessa Gratton. So in December of 2022, I read King Lear. So in 2023, I meant to pick this up and read it, but I did not get around to it. But this is a retelling of King Lear through the daughters, King Lear's daughters. And there's a fantasy element to the story. And I've been meaning to read it because but I have not got to it. So I'm going to read it. I want to read it this spring, even though originally I was like, oh, it'd be great for wintertime, because I mentioned in my seasonal reading videos, which I'm not a seasonal reader, but I thought, I wanted to do videos where I talk about books I think that would be great for certain seasons. Which maybe some of you might think, well, then you shouldn't have done that, seasonal reading list. But, there are some people who do like seasonal reading, and and I don't know if they'll agree with me or not, but they might. So, either way, I want to get to this. So, this is another one that I feel like should be a priority. Like I said, when I get a chance, I could always bring these books downstairs real quick and just... But that would be a lot. And it would kind of feel awkward when my dad came home and show it to him. And he'll be like, are you reading all these books? Or something, make a joke about it. So, there's that one as well. Okay, now we're back to the classics. So I made a goal to read some of my, there's 2 classic authors I want to prioritize. And I haven't been doing well with that. But that is Wilkie Collins, and, I attempted to this winter, but, again, it fell through, and, with Wilkie Collins, and then, the other author was Anthony Trollope. So, I feel like maybe I should consider reading the Moonstone first, because it's the shortest one out of the 3 that I have from Wilkie Collins. And I know most people probably think it's more of an autumn read because it's a bit of spooky mystery kind of story, but all his books are that. And, I've said that I'm not a detective person, story reader, but I want to try Wilkie Collins. So I heard he's really good. And it's not like all of his stories, and I imagine not all of his mysteries are detective-oriented stories. And they don't just focus on the detective character, so... This woman is given this necklace for her birthday, this famous Moonstone necklace, and then at her party it somehow gets stolen, and so they have to find it. But that just shows you, if you get something really valuable, don't wear it at a party, keep it in your jewelry box. Or maybe in a safe or something, if you have one. But, and I did, what's this? And I think, all 3 of Wilkie Collins' books I have started, and probably made the most progress in The Woman in White, so maybe I should read that one first, but I think I want to get this one, because it's not as long as The Woman in White. And then we have Lady Odly Secrets by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This is a woman that, she marries this guy and his cousin is very suspicious of the woman he marries, and the cousin ends up missing, I think. Either he ends up dead or is just missing, and he suspects his new wife, Lady Odly, might be responsible. And it doesn't help that she has a little bit of a mystery about her own little secret that she won't tell anyone. Now, I'm told that for a lot of readers, they were able to figure out what Lady Odly's secret was, or it revealed it right away, and that, and the point of the story is not her secret, but something else. And again, not as long, and I started reading it, so I'm thinking about picking it up this spring. as one of my classics. So there's that one, and then we have, so I absolutely loved Anne of Green Gables. I remember I wasn't sure if I would love it because it is a children's classic, and I was feeling like, oh, I'm not the target audience, I'm too old for it, because I did kind of step back from YA literature because of that, but I feel like it's more easy for an adult to read a literature that was where the children were the target audience than reading young adult, because children's literature, I feel like, is not as annoying. I mean, it can be silly and full of nonsense, like Alice in Wonderland, but I feel like you can appreciate it. You'll be more prone to appreciate books that where the target audience was kids under the age of 13, more so than books that are, 13 through 18, when you're like, 20s and older. Like, I feel like you would be more, so, or at least that's how it is for me. So I absolutely loved Anne of Green Gables, so I've been meaning to read the sequel, but I wanted to wait until the springtime. So I'm gonna read this, and so I want to read, this is definitely one I want to read in April, either April or May. Now, I read the first one in May, but I don't have a children's classic to read in April, so maybe I'll read in April. But, like, and I also I remember enjoying the miniseries and loving the new series that came out. Sadly, it didn't continue. But what's good, which is, the writers, though, were smart, though even though there were still some storylines that I would have liked to know where they go and would like to have more to storyline, I mean, they still kind of closed them, and had an ending, but there's certain storylines I did want them to continue and see where they would go if the show had a 4th season. But the most important storyline of Anne going to college, and then her and Gilbert, that storyline had an ending. It didn't leave you hanging. There was no cliffhanger about where you knew as soon as you saw the last episode that they, it ends happy for them. So I think that was smart of them to do that, to make sure that they gave an ending to that storyline, because Anne is the main character, so her main relationships, they needed to, it's about her, so they needed to end that, because people would not be happy if the Anne and Gilbert storyline did not end in a happy note. So, but now with the books, because there's more books than the show has seasons, so they end the book when Anne first turns 16. So her feelings about Gilbert at the end of book 1 are like, she just still doesn't really like him. So I'm guessing on book, but from what I've read about book 2, that kind of changes, because she's now of the age where she starts developing, hormones and feelings and stuff like that. So I'm excited to read this. And I hope Charlie gets into this. Like, there's so many so many books I want her to get into when she's old enough, but I don't know how much of a reader she will be. But, so there's that one. That's probably a definite. And then we have, here's the Anthony Trollope book, the next one. And I also took off The Way We Live Now as well as a potential read for this spring. It might be a summer read. But the family parsonage, I think this is about a family in Barchester who owns the parsonage, going by the title. And of course, there's probably going to be a love story and family drama, and it's just, so this is one of the books where I decided to take out the dust jacket, because all of my dust jackets were old and they were like ripping and all that for each of these books. So I took off the dust jacket. And, I mean, you can still see, like, if you look at the spine, and when it's on the shelf, you're going to see the spine first. So, But yeah, again, I want to get to a Trollope book this year, soon. Even if I just get to one, I'll be happy, and that will feel like I've accomplished. And also, if I finish one of my Wilkie Collins books, again, that will feel like I've accomplished something. So we have that. And then I always said, like, this was one of the books that I said felt like a spring read, Vanity Fair. And it gives me spring vibes. This is the American equivalent to Emma, I feel like, because it's, or like it's, I think this is the book. Like, it's, I feel like it's Emma meets Gone with the Wind. Okay, so, sorry, I'm getting this is an English book, a British book. So, sorry, ignore the comment I said earlier, about being the Americanized version of Emma. Like, it's a British book. I don't know why I said the Americanized version of Emma. But it gives me Emma vibes, but it also gives me, Gone with the Wind vibes. Not because there's no war story going on. I don't think there's a war going on, but just Becky Sharp's character reminds me of a mixture of, or at least, well, maybe she's kind of more like Emma. Like, I'm sorry, it's just been so long since I haven't read it, but reading the back description and know what I know about the book, those are the lines I was thinking, Emma or Gone with the Wind, with the main character, Becky Sharp. But, it looks like these two girls, they're kind of frenemies. I love the cover, how it's the two women and someone's pulling the strings on them. Like, I like that whole imagery. I think that's really cool. Like they're puppets. But, yeah, I just feel like this is a very spring read. So there's that one, and, like, I'm thinking, oh, let me look and, sort through these and pick the ones that really call out to me. But then I'll look at them all, and they're like, they all call out to me, and, I don't want that to, because I might show you my recent purchases. Okay, so this is one of the ones I was thinking about for the summer, for that quintessential American summer reads, but I just grabbed it just in case I end up deciding to reading it this spring, and plus, it's a book I recently received from my sister as a Christmas gift, so I kind of want to get, even though it's not like she's going to be paying attention to if I read any of the books I got from her, like, she doesn't live, she lives far in another state, so she's not going to notice, but just in case, I feel like I should make sure I get to the books that I received from her, so I might read it now. And I feel like this is Pocahontas and Captain Smith, the story of the Virginia colony. So it's kind of probably more of an accurate depiction, not the Disney-fied version of the story of the Virginia colony. And it looks like kind of a easy read version. Yeah, because it has the similar writing style of, those illustrated classics, the ones that they used to sell them at Michael's. They're hardback books. They have the black and white sketches in them, and they're just more like easy reading versions of these classics. I think it's a good version to start with because you still get the story, but it's like a easy reading version, like, and kid-friendly version. So I might start this for the spring. I was debating about saving it. Like I said, I was thinking about saving it for the summer, but I might get to it, especially because we will be seeing my sister in May. We decided to plan that, to see her in May, because my sister and brother-in-law have a wedding it's on my birthday, and so they need someone to watch the kids, and my mom wants to bring Murphy, but she doesn't want to do it on her own. She doesn't want to be by herself. So, she prefers we all go, and I'm I can help her, but I think she would appreciate if my dad was there as well to help. So we wanted to make sure we all were going on this trip. So I am seriously thinking about reading this now. But it could be also because I'm looking at the book now. Okay. Okay, only a handful more to go. Like I said, I feel like I need to get this. Like, I was going to do some vacuuming, but it's almost 2 o'clock, so I probably need to go downstairs and check on Murphy. The good news is we have a doggy door in my parents' room, so he can go outside, back in and out. But I'm worried that my mom's going to call any second now and be like, okay, what's going on? Why are you letting him out? Are you going out with him? So let me just finish this. And then I will just vacuum either this evening when my dad gets home, or, you know, I'll just vacuum, you know, on tomorrow. Vacuum on the, tomorrow night, or, you know, on the 3rd, because I'm off again on the 3rd, thankfully. So this is one I recently bought. It's called Man's Fate, by Malraux. And I brought it with me last time we went to visit my grandmother, and I started to read it. This is a, it feels kind of like a thriller. Like, you have these, it takes place during the, I think the Chinese Revolution, and it's a group of, a group of people that from, you know, group of Chinese men, and then a couple other people from different countries working together, and it's kind of has a similar story to, I think so far I get the impression that it's similar to, the type of group of characters are similar to like Six of Crows, in a way, like an adult version. And it's pretty good. Like, or it's like, actually a better comparison would probably be Ocean's 11, as far as our characters go. And it's interesting. But I feel like I haven't got a grip on it yet, how I feel about it. So I want to get to this soon, so I can decide if I want to keep it, if I enjoy it enough to keep it, or if I'm going to be like, oh, it was good, but I don't need to keep it. Because I'm also trying to make sure I read more books, before I get rid of them. Oh, never mind, it's just my watch is letting me know it's time to stand. So this is another situation where books that I was trying to, like, because I'm kind of stepping away from Unicorn. I still love her writing, but her stories they always feel sad and depressing, and I want, you know, even though I'm fine with sad books, you know, it's just, there's certain others that they write similar stories every time, and then it's like, you need to take a break from them. So, this is her take on the kind of plots in a Fitzgerald novel. So maybe this might be more appealing to me. Okay, out of print for several decades, Suburbs. I'll just read. Out of print for several decades, here's Edith Wharton's superb satirical novel of the Jazz Age, a critically appraised bestseller, and was first published in 1927. Sex, drugs, work, money, infatuation with the occult, and the spiritual healing. These are the remarkably modern themes that animate Twilight Sleep. The extended family of Miss Manford is determined to escape the pain, boredom, and emptiness of life through whatever form of twilight sleep they can devise or procure. And though the characters and their actions may seem more in keeping with today's society, this is still a classic. Warden tale of the upper crust and its undoing, wittily, masterfully told. So I might actually like this one, because I mean, I did like Fitzgerald for a while. It's just, after a while, I think I read too many of his shorter works, because then eventually I got bored with Fitzgerald. I felt like he was always writing the same thing. So I'm gonna try this one. Because I still like her characters. Just sometimes they're always feel the same. Okay, so then we have a few Russian novels here. So we have the Master of Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I want to read the book. There was a book I got a couple years ago where it was kind of a fictionalized version of what inspired Bulgakov, how he wrote this particular book. So, but I figured I better read this book first, the actual book, original book first. And it's one of the not as long Russian classics. So, I'm debating if I want to get to this before I read War and Peace. And I did start this one. It's like basically a character crossing paths with the devil and not realizing it and making a deal with the devil kind of thing. I think there's a Japanese novel that has a similar premise to that, or they're like granted this wish that you can get, if there's something you want to get rid of, you can do that, and then he sees what a world is like with that thing. In this case, I think he gets rid of cats, I think. But yeah, so I want to pick this one up as well. Okay, so this next one is another one where I debate between reading some of the 1001 Nights volumes before I read this one first. Because I have never read the original story, the original myth, and this is a retelling of that myth, that epic. So, although I don't know if I don't think it's part of that collection. I think it's a whole separate thing. Actually, what am I thinking? They're not even this. They're like, this is India, and that's the Middle East, Arabia. So I'm acting like they're the same thing. They're connected, and actually no, they're completely different. So I apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone. I don't know what I was thinking with that, but for some reason I was associating them as together. For some reason, but they're not. So please, I apologize. Please, no one get mad at me. I did not mean to make that mistake. For some reason, I was associating them as part of the same country, and they're not. They are not. I know that. So please don't get mad at me. But, yeah, so I have never read, the original story, and I don't have it. So, I could get on thrift books at some point. But like I said, I want to read this. Although the introduction might talk about it. Like, I should read the introduction. The introduction might give me some information so that I can read this without being, and have an understanding of the original epic. So, this is one I keep thinking about reading as well. And plus, I want to read more Indian literature. Like, I attempted a fine balance. It just wasn't the book for me. And this is another Indian set. A book takes place in India, so I want to read this. And then I'm currently I did start reading A Passage to India by Ian Forster, which he is an English author, and he writes about going like the relationship between India and England. So, but I also want to read an authentically written by an actual Indian. So there's that as well. Okay, and then we have, so this is one of the other Russian novels, Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman, and I know it's part of a series or trilogy, but I don't have book 2, and I don't know if this is one of the situations where I need to read the first book. So I don't know. I did not mean this is book 2, the book, the other, so I don't know if I need to read or can I get away? I mean, it's a separate book and a lot of people have read this, but I don't know if they've read the first book. But maybe I can read it and not, and be fine because it's been published separately and you can buy it separately. So maybe I can get away with reading. And I did start reading this And it is set during World War II. And I was thinking about it when I recently purchased the books I bought yesterday. So this is, I got to chapter 6 of this, so I want to get to this one as well. But I don't know yet. Like I said, I feel like I should read the Master Margarita because it's not as long. So, and here is my first German classic, Thomas Mann's Bud and Brooks, and I almost bought another Thomas Mann book yesterday, but I decided not to. And just make sure I read this book first, and then I'll buy another Thomas Mann book. And I think this is about a family. Probably a German equivalent to like Jane Austen or something. I mean, I could be totally off there, or Trollope or someone. Because again, it talked about like, it was a family and talking about getting married, the daughters getting married and everything. So, and I did start this one, so I went up to chapter 4. So, I want to keep going with this one. So again, this is another one I might consider prioritizing as well. Almost done. Okay, then we have The Revolution of Marina M. This is the author of White Oleander and Painted Black. I never read any of those books. I seen a little bits of the movie White Oleander. So it takes place. This is one of those coming of age stories. Our main character, it takes place in the early 1900s. And it sounds like she's someone trying to break free from her aristocratic life. And she kind of gets caught up in the Russian Revolution. So, and that just sounds like a really intriguing premise of a woman, coming of age and wanting to do better with her life and, wanting to fight for the rights of humanity and just... Oh my god, I totally did not notice this, or maybe I did and I just forgot, but this is blurbed by Steve Donahue, and he is a booktuber that I've enjoyed watching. He says, "This is Fitch's most powerful narrative, beautifully and propulsively written. The reading experience genuinely does share the opulence and intimacy of the great Russian masterpieces." So this was when he was writing for the Christian Science Monitor. I don't know if he's still doing that, but oh my god, I'll have to watch one of his videos and comment and say, "I'm reading a book you wrote a blurb for." I don't know if you remember. That is so cool. I've never picked up a book by that was blurred by Steve Donahue. I mean, I knew he was a reviewer, but I had never come across. So maybe I should prioritize this one. Because I do like Steve Donahue. But that is so cool. That's exciting. It's always so fun. It was fate. It's fate I picked up this book. Just kidding. I don't know. But that is just so cool. Anytime, if there's, it's kind of cool to see booktubers that are, books that are blurred by booktubers, because you just don't, you don't think that the outside world, the world outside of booktube, would notice us, but we are out there, and if we are involved in the review, and some of us are involved in the reviewing community, so I feel like we, it's nice to see we get noticed. So this is Rebecca's Tale. I thought this would be perfect for a spring read because, the cover made me think of spring. So this is, I absolutely love the novel Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Which is about a woman that has a whirlwind romance with this rich guy, this American woman, and when he offers to marry her, but when she gets to his house, turns out that she can't compare to his previous wife, Rebecca, whom he may have been murdered. And they talk about how great she was, especially the housekeeper, Miss Danvers, who clearly seems to be in love with Rebecca. This is her story. It just seemed like such a great idea. Like, it makes me think of, Why It's Sargasso Sea, which I have not read either, but I do want to buy that one at some point. That is about Bertha Antoinette Mason, her story and how she met Rochester, and her version of events. So, Rebecca just seems like such an interesting character. Like, on the one hand, when you're reading it, she seems like someone just seems like such a bitch. But then you're getting the perspective of Maxim de Winter, and so maybe she wasn't, and maybe we're gonna find out through this author's story that she wrote about Rebecca, that Rebecca, maybe maybe she's in the right a little bit to be kind of, maybe like she feels like she has to be tough and mean and a bitch to survive. But I am excited to read this. So this is another one I definitely want to read this spring. There's a lot of these I want to read, definite, but I don't know. Okay, and then we have, this is another one of the books that I was thinking about reading for if I did a quintessential American summer reads. So this is called Quicksilver, and it's another one that's part of a series. It's during the Puritan era, and, I'm trying to read it. Okay, Brogue Aaron came a quarrel where reasons with war, bloody ambitions on the mighty one are. Okay, I don't want to waste too much time because, like I said, I need to get back downstairs soon and give Murphy attention, let him out and stuff. But it's the Puritan era, and right now they're kind of talking philosophy, and our main character has just met this little kid who proves to be actually very intelligent. I think it's a little girl. But it sounded intriguing. I just hadn't, and it talked about ideas that I didn't know a lot about, but I was definitely interested, and I did have to ask my dad about some of these topics because I was a little confused. But it does come off as a very intriguing read, and I want to get to it. Like I said, I thought about reading it this summer, but I kind of want to start it now. Like I said, there's, of course, a lot of these are books I kind of want to start now. It's the problem. Okay, so that is Quicksilver, and also I love the title Quicksilver. I don't know, I found that a really cool word, Quicksilver. Okay, so then we have. Okay, so this is, again, the other book that the author of the Shipping News wrote. The Barkskins takes place in Canada, and I think it's about this family who created a wood cutting business. It's kind of one of those family saga stories, and I do enjoy the idea of those. I just don't read enough of them, and that's, what got my attention with Dusk. It's a family saga story, so I want to read this as well, soon, but like I said, the other one isn't as long, so maybe read that one first and then read this one. Okay, and then we have, The Pilgrim's Progress. I just grabbed this one. I recently purchased this one, so you probably saw it. This is. Now, I know that a lot of people didn't like our main character and his reasons for just ditching his family, because it's kind of what he does from what people said in the descriptions on Goodreads. And at first, I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I don't want to read it. But then I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot and try it, because it is a classic for a reason. And I mean, not every classic is going to be hit and is going to be appealing to today's audiences, and you don't have to read these. But there are some books that it's like, you kind of want to at least try it. Because, and like I said, I watched a video that Steve Donahue, speaking of, did, where he talked about how, like, yeah, you don't have to read these books. No obligation. Like, reading should be enjoyed and pleasurable. If you're not enjoying books like this, then don't read them. But at the same time, he also says that if you want to be considered a well-rounded reader, there's certain books that he recommends you should read. Now, maybe this is not one of those books. I mean, I'm thinking it might be, but maybe not. But either way, I think books like this you should at least try to read, but you're not obligated to. But if you're interested, then try it, and I am interested. So, it's like this guy goes on a journey of self-discovery and, you know, has a religious experience. It's an allegory. And the soul search for salvation. And I get the, you know, what, from going by what people say in the reviews, yeah, I can understand why that would kind of be like, you're ditching your family, you know, what, so you can go find yourself? Like, but like I said, I'm gonna try it. It does sound interesting, and also, it's one of those, like, I think it's I don't know if it's an epic poem or something, but either way, I'm gonna try it. I can always get rid of it, so, I mean, I didn't spend that much money on it. I just got it at the roast office, so, just spent like $4. Okay, and then we have, I always got this book mixed up with, because it has it's almost the same title, with Kafka's novel, but it's spelled differently. It's Metamorphosis, and this is Metamorphoses. This is a book about like all these great stories about transformation, these characters transforming into something. And in Kafka's novel Metamorphosis, he does transform into a cockroach. And at the time I didn't like it. I mean, I had thought about giving it another shot because Kafka is one of those writers, one of the classic authors of and I don't remember, I don't know what his nationality is. I have to look up. I feel like I should know going by his name, but I can't think of what it is. But I feel like I should give that another shot. But, like, I'd probably just get it from the library if the library has it. But I've been wanting to read this, and I grabbed it because it was like, let me just grab it and talk about it, and potentially something I read in the springtime, but I don't know if that will happen. Because I keep thinking I should read, which I should have grabbed the Portable Dante, because I feel like I should either read that or Paradise Lost before I get to this, but I didn't grab it. So, but it's considered. It is part of this list of books that potentially. Okay, so this next one is another one that I need to get back to and finish, and that is Dombey and Son. For a while I picked it up again. It was amazing progress. I read a good chunk, but when I was visiting my grandmother, but I put it down since. This is about, you know, Mr. Dombey. He owns his own business, and he wants a son to take his place and run his business with him. He wants Dombey and Son, but his wife first has a daughter, Florence, and he thinks no, she has no value. He just ignores her, and she's raised by other people. And the mom does give birth to a boy, but she dies giving birth. And Mr. Dombey is like, yay, I finally got my boy. But then it doesn't go the way he expected with his son. And Paul and Florence become really attached to each other and form this close relationship. And it's so sad. Such a sad story because it still has the signature charm of a Dickens novel and comical characters that are exaggerated. Yes, I will agree. But it doesn't have realism. It has more like surrealism. But I love Dickens. And I like Trollope too. What I've read of Trollope so far. I love Trollope as well. So I like both. But it's so sad though, because just seeing Florence and she's just blaming herself, feels like she's doing something wrong because her dad doesn't love her. And I'm just like, no, it's not your fault that your dad is a dumbass. Like, your dad doesn't love you not because of you, but because he's a jerk. But anyway, I am enjoying this. It's just, again, commitment issues. So I do this should be a priority too. Okay. And then we have, okay, so I had some mixed opinions on this book. Not me, but I've heard mixed opinions. Like I remember Greg from Supposedly Fun was talking about how this book was in one of the nominated as an American novel you should read or something like that, and his sister mentioned it and was surprised by this that this book. So it sounded like they didn't love this book that much, but Eric Carl Anderson, who is a huge Joyce Carol Oates fan, loves this book. So I've been wanting to read this because I am intrigued by Marilyn Monroe and who she was, particularly since I watched Smash, where they did a musical version of her. They were putting on, the show was about putting on a musical, and they were putting on the musical about Marilyn Monroe's life. And since then, I've always wanted to know more about Marilyn Monroe. I've always been intrigued with her, and I have seen some of her movies, bits and pieces of them. Now, this is kind of a fictionalized take on her life, so it's not accurate, but it's just a kind of a fun take. I think it'd be an intriguing take on her life, and I do have a biography that apparently is considered this quintessential read of her life, which I'm surprised it's a male author, and I would think it would be a female author who would write a biography on Marilyn Monroe. But we shall see. But either way, I want to read this one first and then read the actual biography on Marilyn Monroe, because I've always been intrigued by her, so there's that. And that, again, this is another one that I was considering for the summer because of the theme I was thinking about doing. Okay, don't want these to fall. I want to keep the stacks because I don't want that to, be a big, huge mess of a pile in my... Okay, 3 more books. Okay, and then this next one is one that, The Books of Jacob. It won a Nobel Prize. I think it was one of the books that was on one of the lists, like the Pulitzer Prize or the Booker Prize or something. This one deals with the Jewish religion, and I remember liking The Weight of Ink, which also dealt with the Jewish religion. And the story was a little more simpler and easier to get into. This one is a little more complicated, it feels like, and I've read some of it already. But not enough to really talk about it with you guys. So I want to get back to this. And I'm really liking it. And I like stories about religion, exploring religion, all these different religions. It's very interesting, and just how people, but it's a long book, and the writing is a little bit I mean, at least they use quotations for dialogue. Like, as much as I want to read books like The Recognitions, it is so frustrating when some of those books, like one of the books I was looking at yesterday to buy, one of the criticisms was saying that they're one of those authors who doesn't use quotations for dialogue, and that, is very challenging to read, because I'm like, I get confused. I'm like, I want to read books like that, challenge me, and I spent the money, and I'm definitely determined to read The Recognitions, but it's just like, why do you have to be all creative in that way? Like, why can't you just use quotations? I mean, I'm sure someone on here will come and explain to me what are people trying to say about not using quotations, maybe because people don't talk, but, and if someone, I'm sure someone will explain to me, because if they're, but yeah, I find that just odd when authors decide not to do that. I mean, I don't understand what they're trying to say with that. I mean, I'm sure, introductions to books that have that probably would explain it to me, but so I appreciate that this one actually uses quotes, when they're doing the dialogue. There's actually quotation marks. But, anyway, so it is intriguing, but like I said, I feel like I need to read more to really talk about this book. I mean, one of the reviews I read on Goodreads definitely got me to really consider this book and to think about it. So there's that one, and then 2 more books. Okay, this next is my reread of Middlemarch. So I thought this would be perfect spring read. I mean, maybe it will be. I should have started it in March. Right in March, but I just didn't get around to it. I should read the introduction because I've read the books. So I know what happens, so it wouldn't be like spoiling if I read the intro, which I should read it. So see, when I took that, they had that back like strip or whatever around it, paper thing around it, and I took it off and it was like kind of glued on here, so now it's taken off some of the but anyway, I really love this. Is the first time I read it, and so I want to reread it again, and I think it would be a good spring read. When I think pink, I think spring. So I need to get, I don't know if I'll read this or not. Maybe I'll save it for May. I don't know. I have to sort through these and see which ones I want to save for May and which ones I decide not to read. And then the last one is The Way We Live Now. Here's the other Anthony Trollope book. So I was around when I was watching videos that talked about this one and reading this one. This is, and I remember I attempted this once before. And I liked it, but part of me felt like I was trying to decide if I should read some more of the Barchester series, or if, I mean, not that this is part of it, but, I mean, this is standalone, it's not part of the 2 series, but it's like, those ones might not be as long as this one, so I was like, do I want to finish that series and then come to this one, or maybe just go ahead and read this one? And I think it's like some, just aristocrats and marriage, and this guy is like, I don't know. I can't, I'm not gonna even, I don't remember, so, but anyway, I want to read this soon. Like I said, I don't know if I want to read the family parsonage first and then read this, or read this. But anyway, so those are all the books, potential reads for spring. My pile of possibilities, there are a lot. And I think I might be worse than some other people. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. I only have 2 months left though. So I need to narrow this down, and then some of these are going to be summer reads. So anyway, I would love to know, what are the books you're thinking about reading in the next 2 months for the rest of spring? Would love to know. If you want to share in the comments below, please do. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell notification button below if you want to be notified when I upload. I hope you're having a great day and enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!